Today, a breakdown of the disappointment that was the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference of 2020. For those of you following the rumors and speculation in relation to the Apple hardware releases for 2020, this year's Worldwide Developers Conference must have been a massive disappointment. There was no mention of new hardware at all in the keynote announcement, leaving Apple fans and those needing to purchase new equipment just in time for the end of financial year feeling a little downbeat. And some, you could even say, have been left in a state of despair. Now, it's customary that Apple announce at least one or two new products during this event, and if not a completely new category of product, at least a product refresh. But this year, nothing. Instead, we received confirmation of some major updates to iOS and macOS, along with the announcement that Apple were developing a new ARM-based processor that will find its way into the desktop range of computers later in the year or in Q2 of 2021. This new processor technology has been given the name Silicon, and as stated by Tim Cook, Apple Silicon will make the Mac stronger and more capable than ever. The new processors will give Mac industry-leading performance per watt, a high-performance GPU, enabling app developers to write even more powerful pro apps and high-end games, and access to technologies such as Neural Engine will make the Mac an amazing platform for developers to use for machine learning. Now, this will also create a common architecture across all Apple products, making it easier for developers to write and optimize software for the entire Apple ecosystem. So it's at this point, when the processors are faster, smaller, and more efficient, that we may finally see a new design for the MacBook Pro range and even the iMac, which have both suffered from a long product cycle and lack of innovation in terms of industrial design. However, as I say, these changes are not likely to come into fruition until the middle of 2021. So what was the Worldwide Developers Conference all about? Well, apart from the massive announcement about Apple's new Silicon chip, at the event, Apple focused on the software upgrades, highlighting some of the new features of iOS 14 and macOS to debut later in the year around September 2020. I'll just give you a quick outline of some of the key announcements. We're going to see widgets for more customization, a picture-in-picture mode so you can watch a video and then open up another app while the video is still playing on the corner of your screen. This is now going to be available on your iPhone, which is quite innovative for Apple, you could say. New compact design for Siri so that when you initiate a command, it no longer fills the screen. Instead, you get a small Siri icon on the bottom of the screen while other apps remain visible. A new app called Translate, which is essentially a replica of Google Translate. Pinned messages, new Memoji, grouped and inline replies are also going to be available. And a new digital version of car keys that at some point in the future will allow you to pair your phone to your car's security system, and then you can open the door with NFC or even start the engine. iPadOS has a new sidebar, making it look more and more like macOS. Apple Pencil has been enhanced to perform more conversions from your handwriting to text in online forms and so on. Apple are committed to improvements in privacy, including an indicator for when your camera is in use and a new summary of privacy policies that will appear like a label before you install apps from the App Store, making it easier for you to understand just what you've agreed to in terms of those mysterious terms and conditions. They also announced macOS Big Sur, which is going to be a new operating system which will run the new apps that are going to be made for the Silicon hardware, along with remaining compatible with all of the existing software written for Intel chips. So that's what the Worldwide Developers Conference was about. Essentially, a massive announcement for software developers, providing a roadmap of the future for Apple as it transitions to the new hardware and an insight into the up-and-coming software updates. So what do we miss out on, and why were there no hardware announcements? First of all of the rumor websites and YouTube channels have been teasing us with a list of possible upgrades this year. We were told that we should expect a 2020 iMac with a refreshed design, a new iPad, new Apple AirPods Studio, which are over-ear headphones, a virtual reality headset called Apple Glasses, and a new Apple HomePod, all of which could have been announced during this event. None of these came to be, so it looks like Apple will hold off until later in the year during the announcement of the new iPhone 12, or could even draw them out longer and release the new products during the Worldwide Developers Conference of 2021. So why are Apple doing this? Why do they hold onto their designs for so long? Why does it take them forever, it would seem, to provide any innovation with all of their products? Well, the answer is that Apple don't need to innovate the way they used to. In the 80s and 90s, Apple was seen as the underdog and the alternative to the mainstream corporate culture. The brand needed to innovate in order to survive. But since massive success of the iPhone, the captive market that they were able to lock into their ecosystem, it became less about innovation and more about building a loyal relationship with their customer base. So knowing that they have a loyal customer base, Apple have been able to get away with an incremental design approach whereby they make subtle refinements to the same design over a long product cycle. You can see this trend in the iMac, MacBook Pros, MacBook Air, and even Apple Watch. Also, the iPhone can look pretty much the same for years before we get a significant update to the look and feel and the design. So if you're an Apple fan, you just have to get used to this long product cycle. And when we hear about these rumors, you can take them on board and know that many of them will eventuate. But in order to avoid disappointment, I wouldn't try and put a date on it as so many speculators did this year. It's very likely that all of these products that were rumored to be revealed during the Worldwide Developers Conference will be released at some point, but no technology journalist or speculator is ever going to know and able to predict the dates accurately. At the end of the keynote, Tim Cook did make mention that even though the new Silicon processors would find their way into the Mac desktop range in 2021, that there would be some news to come in relation to Intel upgrades to bridge the gap. So based on that, it's very likely that we'll see a refresh to the iMac range to include the new 10th generation Intel processors. These may follow through to the MacBook Pro 16-inch range and could either happen very quickly within the next month, or in true Apple style, it may not be until the end of the year or even later than that. As for the innovative products such as the virtual reality headset and the AirPods Studio, it's possible that at least one of them could materialize alongside the new iPhone 12 in September to October this year. If not, we could be waiting until 2021 before we see any form of innovation on the hardware front from Apple. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Is this what you expected? Were you hoping to see new products announced during the Worldwide Developers Conference? And do you think Apple just takes far too long to innovate these days to the point that you're starting to lose interest in the brand? Or are you happy to wait for as long as it takes? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, hit me up with a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified of up and coming video releases. See you on the next one. Bye for now.